Well, blessings and greetings, and thanks for tuning in to the Moving with Purpose broadcast. I am your host, Apostle Katrina Hillary, bringing you words of encouragement on today. Listen, I invite you to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, X, whichever one you prefer to call it. I'm still old school, so I'm still calling it Twitter. But you can follow us at Apostle Katrina Hillary, or you can follow us at Katrina Hillary. You may also contact us here at the office. You can call or text at 832-777-7151. That's 832-777-7151. Listen, we have a couple of exciting things coming up for the month of October and for the month of November. I think I started announcing last week that we were having, we are having a virtual revival in the month of October. Every Thursday night, beginning at 8 p.m., we will be live on Facebook, Instagram, and I'll try to squeeze YouTube in there also. Sometimes technology will throw you for a loop, but hopefully we will be able to air the uh, revival on all three platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And so every Thursday night in the month of October, beginning at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we have different speakers that's going to come on each Thursday night. I am excited about the men and women of God who are going to be speaking on those Thursday nights. So I invite you to tune in on those Thursday nights so that you can be a part of it. And it's my prayer that you be blessed and you're able to get something from that those speakers on each night. Also, in the month of November, we have our Women in uh, Ministry and Business brunch coming up on November the 16th. That event is free and open to all women. It is for, if you're just starting out in ministry, it's for you. If you're seasonal in ministry and business, it's for you. If you're interested in being in ministry or business, it's for you. And so it is available. All I ask is that you register, because we will have a cutoff there. So you need to register as soon as possible. And that brunch is free. I am sowing into the lives of women. That is something that God has placed on my heart and given me an assignment to do, where we can come together and learn, motivate, and empower one another. And so, again, that is November the 16th. It's open to all women. It's free for you. I just ask that you register so that we can have enough food and make sure that we have an accurate account of how many people are going to be there, so that our presenters on that day have material. They will have enough material for everybody that's in attendance. So be sure that you register on eventbrite.com. You can go to eventbrite.com, and when you key in women's brunch or you key in Texarkana, it's going to automatically pop up, and then you go and register. Soon as you complete the registration, I'm going to receive that information and we'll have you accounted for. You can also go to apostlekatrina.hillary.eventbrite and register also. So you can use either one of those. So I noticed that several people have indicated that they are going on Facebook. I ask that everybody who has made that indication on Facebook hop over to Eventbrite and make sure you complete that registration, because I want to make sure that we have everybody there. That way, when you come into the brunch that day, it starts at 11 a.m. When you get there, the registration table will have your information. And so that's why it's important for you to register. And so I will have more information coming up about that as we get closer to November. I'm sorry, to November. And so again, October, every Thursday night in the month of October, we will be having our live virtual revival so everybody can be a part of it. You don't have to worry about going to a building. It's going to be live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We're going to try to do all three at the same time. And then in the month of November, November the 16th, is when we have the women in history and business brunch, and it is open to all women. I just ask that you register. All right. So I've gotten those announcements out of the way, and so it is time for me to share with you words of encouragement before I go on today. Share with you what homework God gave me on last week, and so this time we are in the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk has 3 chapters, and so that's where we are coming from. Today I'm going to read a little bit in the Message Bible. We are familiar with a key verse, or 2 key verses in chapter 2. We use often several times, especially when we're trying to get somebody to do something or follow something. They are very known. But I want to look at chapter 1 to kind of give some context to something that we've been saying all along. And so, coming up, I tell people I grew up in the church, and sometimes we hear stuff so long, we just hear it and we start repeating it, never reading the word for ourselves, never studying the word. We just keep repeating what we've heard, not realizing what else is tied to what we're saying. And so I want to back up and go to chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. And this is the Message Bible. Verse 1 says, "The problem as God gave Habakkuk to see it. God, how long do I have to cry out for help before you listen? How many times do I have to yell, help, murder, police, before you come to the rescue? Why do you force me to look at evil, stare trouble in the face day after day? Anarchy and violence break out, quarrels and fights all over the place. Law and order fall to pieces. Justice is a joke. The wicked have the righteous hamstrung and stand justice on its head." Habakkuk chapter 2, beginning at verse 1. What God going to say to my questions? I'm braced for the worst. I'll climb to the lookout tower and scan the horizon. I'll wait to see what God says, how he'll answer my complaint. Verse 2 says, "Then God answered, write this, write what you see, write it out in big block letters so that it can be read on the run. The vision message is a witness pointing to what's coming. It aches for the coming. It can hardly wait, and it doesn't lie. If it seems slow in coming, wait. It's on its way. It'll come right on time." What we are familiar with, many of us, are what it says in chapter 2 in the King James Version at verse 2. "And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end of it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." If you will allow me to back up a little bit and share, because we don't want to take for granted that everybody knows the story. And so, if you will allow me to give some context to what I'm about to say, uh, I think it will bring the picture together a little bit better. And so Habakkuk is considered a minor prophet, not that he is any less than Isaiah or Jeremiah. He is not less. It's just that we only have 3 chapters. And so Habakkuk, along with several others, sometimes we refer to them as minor prophets. And again, it does not say that they have less or they're less meaningful than the others. It's just smaller chapters. But what is unique about this prophet is that a lot of times, or majority of the times in the Bible, you see prophets speaking on behalf, speaking to the people on behalf of God. God gives the prophet a vision. He tells the prophet, or he tells her what it is that needs to be spoken to the people, and then the prophet takes it to the people. But this particular prophet, Habakkuk, sees something and then takes it to God. He is the type of prophet that goes to God on behalf of the people. And so these three chapters is a conversation between Habakkuk and God. And it's just a conversation going back and forth. And so Habakkuk has seen something, and now he is burdened with what he has seen, and he's taking it to God. And what he tells God is that, how long are you going to allow Israel to be in this condition? The leaders are out of hand, and therefore the people are out of hand. And he's in a situation that the burden is heavy on him. And so he's taking his burden to God. And he's asking God, how long are you going to allow this? Are you just going to let this keep going on and on? Just let this pass by or float by, depending on your relationship with God. And so I want to put a pin in that right now and explain to somebody that there is no harm in asking God questions. A lot of times I've heard people say, oh, you don't question God. If God is doing something, let him do what he's doing. If God tells you to do something, you just do it. You don't question what the Father is doing. You don't question what the Master is doing. You don't question God. But I beg to differ. See, the problem is sometimes we don't get an understanding, and so we go out there and we wing it and we mess things up. And so Habakkuk is giving us proof that we can go to God and ask him questions. The problem comes in is how we ask God the questions. And so he is just asking God, how long? Because he has seen the issues. It's kind of like my mother used to tell me, when I would see things, and she would remind me that if God showed it to you, because he didn't show that to everybody else. Trina, he showed that to you. So it's your responsibility to do something about it. He's going to show you or tell you what to do about that which he has shown you. And so I think I've shared with you before, I didn't always want to see what it was that God was showing me, because when God shows something to you and reveals something to you that's burdensome, then you have to carry the weight until you're able to release it. And so this prophet is carrying the weight of what he has seen. And so I don't know about you, maybe God hasn't shown you anything and you've had to carry the weight of something that he's shown you. And if you understand that, then you can understand the condition and the predicament that this prophet finds himself in. And so he is asking God, what are you going to do about it? But here's the thing where we get it messed up. We can ask God the question, but we may not like the answer that he's going to give. As a matter of fact, he gives a response to Habakkuk, and now Habakkuk finds himself even more confused with the answer that God has given him. And so God reveals to him that I am going to address Israel's problem by using Babylon to correct Israel. And so now Habakkuk is going back to God and saying, how can you use the Babylonians when they are more wicked than Israel? Sometimes God will use others to correct his own people. It doesn't feel good, it doesn't look good, and we don't want to hear correction. Can I explain something to you here? There are different types of prophets. There are different instructions from God. It's easy when God gives you a word or a vision of something, of how he's going to bless somebody. But if anybody has ever received a word or direction from God for the people, and it's a hard word, it's a hard thing to deliver. What God is saying to him is, yes, I understand Israel is out of hand, but I'm going to use someone even more wicked to whip them back in shape. But he's not only going to use Babylon to get them where they need to be, it's going to be a season or a period of restoration in there. God has never punished his people without bringing restoration or renewal to the situation. We can get out of hand of God's people, and he has to send, or he has to deal with us and correct the issues. And then once we are corrected, Lord help us that we are restored and renewed and now in a better place. It's the same way that we do with our children. When your children are out of hand and they need correction, if you do not correct your children, it's going to get worse. But I remember my parents, I didn't want mama to whoop me. And for you that are fancy, I didn't want mama to whip me, because then I couldn't understand, why was I getting this type of punishment if my mother and father said that they loved me, but it was for my good. And so God deals with us the same way. Sometimes he has to discipline us and bring correction in order to get us where we're supposed to be. We are a chosen people, and God does not like to see his own chosen people out of hand, running amok, and all in disarray. So he sends correction. But Rebecca can't understand why God is using someone worse off than they are. Sometime God is going to do what he does, and he does not owe us an explanation. But now that God has revealed how he's going to handle this, Habakkuk finds himself at the end of chapter 1. Going into chapter 2, he says, I'm braced for the worst. I'll climb to the lookout tower and scan the horizon. I'll wait to see what God says. Here's another little nugget that we can learn from this prophet. Sometimes we ask God questions, we go to him when we don't understand. But then we fail to do like the prophet in chapter 2. We wait on God's response. If I can be honest, there have been some times when I prayed and asked God something, and it seems as if God wasn't moving fast enough. And so then I said, well, he ain't moving, he ain't talking, he must want me to figure it out. And then I begin to try to figure out and come up with a plan as to how I'm going to resolve the situation. But the prophet says he's going to sit and wait on God. And in his waiting, God gives the answer. In the King James Version, it says, write the vision, make it plain upon tablets, upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. Write it out in big block letters. The vision message is a witness pointing to what's coming. He is telling him to write out what I just told you. Sometimes when we do visions, we think of visions in a sense of everything is peaches and cream. But in this text, we find that the vision also includes that there's going to be some correction. The vision includes that there's going to be some correction. In this correction, it's going to be tight. It's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to cause you some pain, but in the end of this vision, there is restoration. And so this whole text reminded me of not long ago, maybe now a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, about 67 million viewers tuned in to the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Several memorable things were said during the debate. Some of the things we found ourselves laughing at, some of the things we were saddened to hear. Because you have to understand that both candidates, one wants to be rehired and the other one wants to be hired for the president position. And so, what was interesting to me is that I usually don't watch political debates. But this time I decided to tune in. And as I listened this time with a different ear. I looked at things this time with a different eye. I not only heard and saw in the natural, but I was tuning in the spirit realm to see what God was saying. And so one of the candidates was asked about a plan. He had made several complaints about what was in place was not effective. And so he was asked, what's your plan? And so he kind of skirt-tailed around the thing about what he was going to do. And she came back again and she said, but what's your plan? Do you have a plan? And finally, the previous president says, well, I have a concept. I want you to understand that a concept is not the same as a vision. A concept, a plan, or a concept is not the same as the vision. For you have to understand that a concept is like, I've given it some thought, maybe a little, but I really don't have a plan. I really don't have a vision as to how I would resolve this issue, as to how I would handle this situation. I don't have a vision as to how I'm going to move things further. See, a concept will allow you to just make complaint after complaint, to throw a wrench in the situation because you don't have a plan and you don't have a vision. I come to tell somebody right now that in this season, you need a vision. Concepts won't do. And so a lot of times I know somebody is saying, well, I've been successful and I didn't have a plan. I've been successful and I vision. I understand. Been there, done that, and I have the award to show that I was a participant. There are times when we do things and we can wing it and we get lucky because it turned out all right. But when God is giving you a vision, when God gives you a plan, things are different. We cannot operate in this season on a concept or an ideal of a plan or complain and not have a plan or vision in place. Sometimes we lack vision. And so, as leaders, and I'm talking about myself because there are things that I lead, there are people that I lead. I am the leader in my household, I am a leader on my job, I am a leader in ministry. And so, you too are a leader in some aspect or another. And so you have to understand that as leaders, we have to have a vision. In my household, I have to have a vision. I have to have a vision for my family. I have to have a vision for my children. I have to have a vision for my ministry. I have to have a vision for my marriage, or else I'm just winging it. And so when things go awry, who can I blame but me because I have no vision? And so, even like in the text, the people are all disarrayed because leadership lacks vision, leadership lacks a plan. And so, we must have a vision in order for us to move forward. Now, I was reminded of when I was in New Orleans. And so New Orleans has this thing what they call a second line. Some of you been to New Orleans, had the privilege of living there for almost 11 years. And so, I've seen a lot of second lines, been through a lot of Mardi Gras. And so some people go for Mardi Gras and second line are totally different. Second lines are like parades. But what is interesting to me when I moved there, and I was living in the ninth ward, and the second line just happened to come down the street close to where I was living, so I could sit in the front yard and watch the second line. And so the first time I saw a second line, I got excited as I saw the social club coming through, doing their dances and dressed up and the feathers and all of this. And behind them was the brass band. And so once you get past the social club and the brass band, you have all of these people who have joined in following the second line, and they can go for blocks and blocks and blocks. And if you've been to New Orleans, you know a block in New Orleans is not a block like in Texarkana. It's not like a block in Wake Village. And so these are long blocks, but people get caught up in the music and in the dancing, and they begin to join in into the second line, and they're going and going, and everybody is just jumping and excited, and they've been sucked into the movement, and they're just going and going and going. But what baffled me is that when they reached a certain point, the social club stopped, turned around, the brass band stopped playing, and all of these people that had followed them to this destination now had to turn around and go back to where they were. See, some people get caught up in just anything. They will follow anybody with a plan or without a plan. Some people just like movement. But I come to tell those who are just followers and get caught up in any and everything without having an understanding of what's going on, you better be careful in what you get caught up in. You'll be like the second line people. You got caught up in the movement and you followed any and everybody because the music was playing. Do you not know that Satan loves to play music too? He will get you off course and caught up in things to get you distracted from where God is trying to take you. And so not only do we need to write the vision, we have to make the vision plain so that those who are following us will know exactly where we are going. They will know exactly what's about to come to pass. And so as leaders, again, that does not mean that you have to be a leader in ministry, for we are all leading something. But for those who follow, and for those who are leaders, you have to have a vision. A concept just won't do. An idea just won't do. When you have people expecting and leaning and looking to you for leadership, it is our responsibility to stay connected with God so that we can receive the vision and the plan that God has for us. And not only to be able to receive that vision and the plan, but to be able to take it, internalize it, breathe it, taste it, see it, walk with it to the point to where you explain it to other people that they'll be able to catch hold to your vision and run with it. And so a lot of times we wonder why people we're sharing a vision, or we are attempting to share a vision and people are not catching hold to the vision. People are not buying into the vision. Sometimes it's because you don't believe the vision that you spoke. It is imperative that the vision that you are speaking, that you believe it. Even when it feels like it's not coming, like the text says, it's coming, it's on the way, it will not tarry. And so you have to understand in that vision process, sometimes God can give you a vision and it will come to pass within a matter of weeks, in a matter of months, in a matter of years. And then God sometimes for long term. And so you have to be able to take that vision, to understand it to the fullest. And just like the prophet, when God gives it to you and you don't understand, you have the right and the authority to go back and say, God, I know what you said, but I'm not clear. Help me understand. Help me see what it is that you're giving me. Help me to be able to relay this to the people so that they can take hold to the vision, so that they can see what it is that you're saying in this season. For in this season, a concept, an idea, or winging it, that season is up. In this season, in order to be effective, we must have a vision, write it, make it plain so that others can understand and follow it. You be blessed.